Bjorn Ulvaeus, one of the two Bs in ABBA, welcome to The Economist Asks.
Thank you.
We were just chatting as we were getting going, and I was telling you that I have the original single of Waterloo, 1974, was your Eurovision breakthrough.
Fantastic.
When you meet people like me who have followed ABBA and ABBA's afterlife for what is now 4 decades, I was obviously very small at the time. Do you think, oh my goodness, it's that long? Or what do you feel when you meet very long-standing fans?
It's quite strange. I mean, intellectually, I can understand figures, huge figures of, sold records and stuff like that. But emotionally, it's quite difficult to grasp that it has meant a lot to a lot of people over a long period of time. And that you and I are sitting here talking about this, something which I thought would be, gone into oblivion, like 2 years after we'd split up. So I'm very humbled by it when people come up to me and tell me how much our music has meant, and grateful. But I have to say that I don't know quite how that happened.
Well, let's try and find out a little bit as we look forward as well, because Mamma Mia the movie is back, Mamma Mia 2. Tell me why you decided to take Mamma Mia forward. You had this big hit with the musical on stage and a film.
Yeah.
You might think like 3 times is pushing luck.
Yes.
But you did it. Why?
Well, obviously Universal Pictures, they wanted Mamma Mia 2 much earlier. So there's been talk about it for these past 10 years. And there have been a few scripts as well. Either it's not us liking them or Hollywood. But then when Ol Parker and Richard Curtis came up with this idea of telling 2 stories, and when I saw Ol Parker's first draft, I thought, this is fun. We could actually do this. This would be great to see this movie. Is what I felt, and Benny too. So we said yes. Okay, let's go ahead and do this.
Does it take the 4 of you to give permission for something to go ahead?
In this case, we're talking about music and lyrics. So it's really Benny and me. But of course, we talk to the girls as well about it, ladies, about it. Like anything that concerns ABBA, we all talk about it.
And then you have to have other people performing your songs. Whoever's in the movie gets to sing the songs, pleasurable or occasionally painful.
Some actors don't have to sing that much, which means that you have more freedom in kind of choosing them. Whereas main characters like Donna, the part played by Meryl Streep in the first one, we have the young Donna in this one, and Lily James, and she sings like a goddess. And then the other main character is, of course, Sophie, Donna's daughter, and that's Amanda Seyfried, who also sings even better than she did 10 years ago. So we're very lucky with those. And Christine Baranski is a great singer. So they mostly they sing very well, most of them.
And you don't try to replicate an ABBA sound, because it's extremely distinctive. Anyone switching on a radio knows when it's ABBA.
Yes, it's very distinctive, and we actually recorded 2 songs with ABBA again. This is about a year ago, 2 new songs, and then the minute those 2 ladies went into the studio and opened their mouths and sang together, wow, that's ABBA, and it doesn't sound like anything else.
I'm interested in why you did that, because you had said it in the past you'd like people to remember ABBA as they were, young, exuberant, full of energy and ambition.
Yeah.
Well, you still seem pretty exuberant and full of energy and ambition, but ABBA
Thank
is
you.
a bit... Same goes for all of us, huh? But ABBA is older, and it does feel like a bit of a risk to put it back together again. Why do it?
because it was a challenge, something nobody had ever done before. So what we're doing is that we're creating heads, digital humans of ourselves from 1979. That's the year we chose. I think the ladies did. We looked particularly good then, apparently. So you will see those avatars, and you will not see that they're not human beings, but they are digital humans, and they will sing the new songs that we have recorded.
The avatars.
Yes. So through their lips will come the voices of Agneta and Frida of today.
And what did it feel like to do that again, given that so many of the songs, particularly towards the back end when ABBA was together, were quite sad, quite reflective. There's a sort of goodbye, a melancholy feeling to the lyrics. What's the feeling of the new songs? I know you're recapturing but also looking forward, so how do you strike that balance?
Well, first of all, we just wrote 2 new songs as best we could, without ever thinking about, another single competing with the others in the charts or anything like that. One of them is like a pop song from the 70s. The other one is kind of timeless. But they're both reflective, especially the one called I Still Have Faith in You. It's almost existential. And it reflects on the 4 of us and the life we have now. So I guess we didn't even think. We just did what seemed to be the best at the time, which was 1 year ago, and I'm very proud of both songs, actually.
Can you give us a line from one of the songs?
No.
Get a small exclusive.
No, that's I Still Have Faith in You and Don't Shut Me Down is the other one.
We'll have to wait and see. When will we hear them?
I think it's been pushed ahead a little or back. I don't know.
One of the two.
Yeah, one of the two. It was planned for the end of this year, but I think we're talking about the beginning of next year now.
I know a bit about your lyrics. I like your lyrics a lot, and I've also been fascinated by the way you were able to combine this bouncy pop style, Dancing Queen and Mamma Mia, with quite serious subjects that you've written about. Divorce, there as you used the word existential a moment ago, which doesn't sort of think of so much with disco hits. What topics do you want to address now in music?
I'm still interested in relationships of various kinds. Not necessarily boy falling in love with girl, but other aspects as well. And that's where I usually land. I find politics, stuff like that, quite uninteresting for music. It's very often that the music tells me what it's about. It kind of conjures up images or even like film sequences in my head, when I hear something which doesn't have words. And then it's just a matter of writing that down in lyric form and telling a little story, the story that I see in my head.
You make it sound quite easy.
It is. It's.
And when people ask you that annoying question of what's the secret to writing a pop song?
You have to be very true to yourself and serious. And you have to trust your own taste and your own intuitions. Don't speculate. Get inspiration from other people and from other songs. Don't copy. Write your own things. And if you're lucky, some other people will like it as well.
I wondered, given that so much time has elapsed from the mid-70s to 80s and beyond, when music changed a lot, but so did society. And you track a lot of society. I think particularly European society in your songs in small ways. Are there songs that you now look back and think, I would not write now? And I'm thinking of something like Does Your Mother Know That You're Out? Which in the Me Too era, and a sort of greater awareness, a squeamishness, of sort of possibly exploitative relationships with younger women.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much, Bjorn?
Maybe I'd hesitated today. You're absolutely right. But there was this young girl, that I must have met sometime during my career, on tour perhaps, who came up to me like that. But, I never went across the limit. As you can see in the song, I told her, stay off, take it easy, you're too young, and so forth. So I have clean conscience.
And do you think the sort of feminism has changed the way that we see either the lyrics or the presentation of ABBA, with the sort of gorgeous girls in their catsuits and extraordinary wardrobes? And would you style it differently now?
I don't think so. We had fun, and we were, equals, and there was never any talk about anything else. But I think the MeToo revolution, especially I think in Sweden, I find that it's meant so much. It's incredible. It has changed so much. It was a revolution, I think. We're thinking different. Me too. We're thinking differently now. But then again, our marriages and divorces were completely, on equal terms, and so there again, I have a clean conscience. I'm a feminist. Always been.
You describe yourself, I think, as a free thinker, a humanist.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I don't necessarily think that human beings can sort out everything, but what else is there? We have to do things ourselves. We have to take responsibility for everything. I mean, us humans. Because if there is anything else out there ruling our lives, well, we haven't seen any of it yet. So while we're waiting for that, I think we humans have to take responsibility for what we're doing.
Is there a song that you think sums up your political outlook, small p political, humanist outlook?
I'm a liberal. I'm a kind of a social liberal. If that tells you, that's roughly where I am.
You sound like a perfect Economist reader.
Yes.
I hope you are.
Yeah, I do read the Economist every week, and it's one of my favorites. The leaders, especially, I love the leaders in the Economist.
You should come into one of our leader conferences. So your outlook, as you say, is socially liberal. It's not music that's intended to drive a particular conclusion. But I'm also struck, for me growing up with your music, it was a window into Europe, particularly Northern Europe. You have songs that are set in Paris. Our Last Summer is also a song about Paris, as well as a story about breaking up. And it had that Scandi sound that just felt very fresh. It was a time of perhaps greater ambition in the EU and the idea of a European ideal. Yeah. You're here in London at a time of Brexit chaos, other strains on the European ideal.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
I feel very bad about that. I'm a European through and through. And I'm really, really sad that some of the Brits feel that they, don't want to be among their friends anymore. And I just don't understand it. But there you go. I hope that the rest of Europe will, somehow find some strength to withstand the populists and those who deep down want to be dictators and are enemies of democracy, I think, deep down.
You've seen your own country change quite a lot as well, haven't you? From your music is used in the Lucas Moodysson film SOS about changes in Swedish society from a kind of, to put the boot on the other foot, so to speak, that the social democratic ideal is also a bit tattered, isn't it?
It is. It's very tattered. All over Europe, all over the world, perhaps. It's like they cannot find the path anymore, and the relevance. Everyone wonders what is the relevance in social democracy. But I think liberal democracy, when it's at its best in Europe, that's what we must be fighting for.
Well, that's actually one of the reasons we wanted to talk to you for a season that we're doing called Open Future, which looks at the challenges to liberal democracy. I'm also interested of how specifically Swedish you think your music was and is, and in the sense it has that, sometimes I nearly went into German, which is not what you want, but it has that depressive undertone sometimes. And if I think of something like SOS, it's what it says. It's an urgent cry of pain about things. How much do you feel that you're influenced by a sort of darker Scandinavian tradition in literature, in poetry, and songs?
Oh, very much, very much. ABBA's music is described sometimes as happy sad, and there's certainly a melancholy underlying the exuberant voices, and the sound is so happy and uplifting, but there is darkness underneath, and there is melancholy of a particular Nordic kind, I think, in it. But you said that you found that our music was like a window to Europe, and I think that's because growing up, Benny and I were exposed to all kinds of music through Swedish radio in other ways. French chanson, German Schlager, Italian ballads, plus Nordic folk music and stuff, together with pop and rock and roll. We had all that in us when we started writing. So I think we're very European at the same time.
There's the odd bit of Bach in there, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's the odd fugue.
And I think that we're the only, in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we're the only non-Anglo-Saxon group ever inducted, which is incredible.
Question for our listeners is, which ABBA song has Marilyn French, the feminist writer, in it? Do you remember?
Yes.
You wrote that?
The Day Before You Came. Funnily enough, on the new cast album from Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, you can hear Meryl Streep as an extra track singing The Day Before You Came. And we decided that no one, or Marilyn French is not that well known anymore. Many people wonder. So Marilyn French in that Meryl Streep version is Margaret Atwood.
Ah!
Yes.
Now that is an exclusive. You've replaced Marilyn French with Margaret Atwood. I'm sure we'll hear a lot from our listeners about that choice.
Okay, I blame it on Meryl.
Blame it on Meryl, exactly. So the world has changed a lot in these 35 years. And I wanted, being back here in London, launching something new, you must reflect on your own life as well. How much have you changed in that time? And if I interviewed you as the little girl watching Waterloo in 1974, what is your, if you can sum up your personal journey, what is it?
Well, generally, as I am 73 now, I have more freedom. I am braver. I can make quicker decisions. I'm not as worried about everything as that young man was. I take it much more easy, and I lift my eyes and I see the bigger picture much more often than he did. So if I give him advice, it would be, don't be so worried. Things will sort themselves out.
I think I'm going to take head over heels as your song to my desert island, if I have to take.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Oh.
I'm taking that one. I don't
Okay.
think, I don't think this is a choice that many others. I think for young women, it's a great song.
Mhm.
What would you take?
If I had to take an ABBA song, I would take some other song. I wouldn't take an ABBA song. No, I would take a symphony by Beethoven.
And you can have an ABBA song as well.
I don't know. It's very difficult. They are like from different periods, and so I have favorites from various different periods we went through. I think if you listen to our albums from beginning to end, there is a development. There is. They are kind of younger sounding, more teenage oriented in the beginning, and more mature towards the end. That makes it almost impossible to pick just one.
Bjorn Ulvaeus, thank you so much for talking to us.
And thank you.